Hi everyone, my name's Jude Currivan. I'm delighted to be with you today, and we're going to be exploring how a radical guide to reality can empower transformational change. And to begin with, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes because I'm going to invite you into the beginning of a journey. So, by closing your eyes and slowing your breath, I invite you to begin to imagine the beginning of our universe. It's black, not the transparent black clarity of a night sky tinged by stars, nor the blackness of squid ink, black yet with a hint of blue, but an utter and complete blackness. Not an empty void, but replete with everything and the potentiality of what might come. Not a black hole, but the black hole. It's minute, tiny almost beyond comprehension. Its wholeness at its first moment, as small compared to your body as you are to the vastness of what it has grown since into over nearly 14 billion year long evolutionary journey. It's hot, 100 trillion times as hot as the interiors of its stellar progeny, many billions of years into its future. It's simple, though not as simple as it can be to gift an eventual cornucopia of planets, plants, and people. Wonder at the audacity of its visionary magnificence. How could the infinite and eternal mind of the cosmos dream of the perfect intricacy of such a thought? And why? So we'll begin our journey several hundred years ago with the curiosity of what were then called natural philosophers and are now called scientists, among them Galileo, Copernicus, Kepler, Brahe, and Newton. And they were exploring the physical world because the powers that be in the church refused under heresy laws to enable them to explore spiritual realms. But what they found in the physical realm was wondrous. They looked deeper and further out, and that has been a continuing journey for the next 300 years or more. But by the 19th century, their explorations had perceived a universe that was solely material, a mechanistic universe made up of separate things that worked rather like a beautiful, intricate clock. But what was happening was that on the horizon, discoveries were coming that would begin to turn that on its head. But the point was that at the time that this understanding of a mechanistic, fully materialist universe was at its height, it was the mid to late 19th century, and its technologies drove the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution itself was founded on a materialist paradigm. And so the structures that came from that, the companies, the corporations, the governance, the economics especially, and the education and the healthcare and everything were founded on the narrative told of, the story shared from that perspective. And even when, at the beginning of the 20th century, the discoveries of quantum physics and relativity physics were starting to say, no, this isn't the deeper understanding of the nature of the world. The philosophical implications of those discoveries, the quantum discoveries that an observer cannot be separated from what is observed, the relativity of space and time to an observer and needing to be woven together in invariant space-time, all of these guided, drove, inspired greater technologies that we have today. But the deeper implications, the philosophical implications, the really important implications were put to one side. And key amongst them was the nature of mind and consciousness. For a number of the quantum physicists, including Max Planck and indeed Albert Einstein himself, appreciated then that mind and consciousness are primary. But it's taken another 100 years and many, many more discoveries that are now so compelling that that mechanistic 19th century paradigm is literally about to be turned fully on its head. So breakthroughs now at all scales of existence and across many fields of research are enabling a unitive perspective of how the energy and matter and space-time appearance of our universe, while real, emerges from non-physical realms of causation and cosmic intelligence. And as I say, that well ushered in by the science of the 20th century, they're now only possible due to profound insights on understanding the role of information and the holographic principle to undertake this revolution that is far more than a scientific revolution. It truly is relevant to each and every one of us in our lives every day. And based on the primacy of universal mind and consciousness, it shows that cosmic mind articulates our universe, its appearance, as digitized and meaningful information, and that its wholeness is all pervaded through its pixelated and nested and complex and dynamic and relational patterns that literally is the reality of the appearance of our universe. And evidence at all scales is showing it's manifesting holographically. I'm going to run through these couple of slides because what I'm about to share with you is a short film that I co-produced and wrote and narrated that tells all of this with the intention to share this understanding with young people and truth seekers of all ages, which includes all of you. So we're going to move on to the story of our universe as a radical guide to reality through a film. But these slides set it up. And what they're showing is that what the film is sharing has deep scientific roots. We can back up the film with numerous evidence that we do so, because it's important that people appreciate that what we're sharing has foundations, that its unity and its unitive story is not an aspiration, it's our existential reality. And the patterns that are shown in the film, we have discovered. And again, each of these are supported by scientific evidence across many fields of research. And of course, throughout what I call our planetary home Gaia, so throughout Gaian systems, and crucially throughout evolutionary processes. And perhaps most important, these patterns play out in collective human behaviours, and they're the same patterns, whether it be internet and ecosystems, human conflicts and earthquakes, the way cities grow and the way galaxies grow. And they're all underpinned, as again the film shares, by something we relate to, we call, they're so named, it's a long word. I spoke of this to the Theosophical Society in New Zealand, and we all recited holotropic attractor patterns, and it became a mantra throughout the weekend we were together. But these are the patterns that underpin all of the complexity of our universe. And in 2018, scientists showed that what quantum physics had revealed, that to work at all, our universe has to be entirely what's known as non-locally unified. They did this, as this slide shows, by non-locally entangling photons in the lab with starlight from 600 light years away and a quasar from 12.2 billion light years ago. And the Nobel Prize in Physics was given in 2022 for such non-local, universal non-locality. And the Nobel Prize is only given to settled science. This is no longer contentious. This is no longer up for debate. Our universe exists and evolves as a unitive entity. So let's now share the film. And I hope you enjoy it. Everything breathes. People breathe. Plants breathe. Planets breathe. Our whole universe breathes. Our universe began to breathe nearly 14 billion years ago. Instead of the implied chaos of a Big Bang, it began as the first moment of a wonderfully fine-tuned, beautifully ordered, and ongoing big breath. Like a baby, it was born as simple as possible to be able to grow and vitally to evolve. As its big breath continued, with space expanding from its minuscule birth and time flowing from past to present to future, its evolutionary journey from simplicity to complexity and ever greater levels of diversity and self-awareness led from hydrogen and helium to stars and galaxies and eventually to planets and plants and people. The hydrogen in the water of our bodies and in the waters of our planetary home Gaia is only a few minutes younger than our universe. All else that makes up us and Gaia was created in stars billions of years ago. Our story is the story of our universe. Yet what really is the reality of our universe? And who really are we? Instead of a story of separation, scientific breakthroughs are now discovering and converging with indigenous and other wisdom teachings to reveal that our entire universe exists and evolves as a wholly unified entity, with everything interrelated and interdependent with everything else. Despite its appearance of solidity, though, physical reality, while real, is actually 99.999999999% no-thingness, and its material appearance isn't its deeper nature. Evidence at all scales is discovering that its energy and matter and space and time are its appearance, not its deeper nature. Showing that its appearance emerges from more fundamental and non-physical levels of cosmic intelligence and causation. Underlying causation and all-pervasive cosmic intelligence that, expressing itself as information, is the fundamental substance of our universe. Information, though,
that isn't expressed as random data, but vitally as meaningful information that literally informs all we call reality. Meaningful information that's expressed in complementary ways as the energy and matter, space and time appearance of our universe. And as we are learning from the study of black holes, our entire universe is a vast cosmic hologram. Its wholeness existing and evolving in the interdependent complexity of its informed and diverse parts. The alphabet of its informational language is the simplest possible, with only 2 letters, 1 and 0. Just as in our digitized technologies, they're combined meaningfully to inform and make up all we call reality, from hydrogen to stars to planets and plants and people. Like our digitized technologies and holograms, universal digitized information is pixelated. The scale of our universe's pixelation, though, is more than a trillion times smaller than our best high-definition technologies. As small as to the size of an atom, as an atom is to our entire universe. Named after Max Planck, one of the greatest pioneers of quantum theory, from the minute pixelated Planck scale, the holographic appearance of our universe arises. The relational and dynamic informational patterns and processes of its wholeness are being discovered at all scales of existence, from atoms to planets to vast clusters of galaxies, to all of space and time. And through many fields of research, from physics, chemistry, biology, and planetary sciences, to studies of collective human behaviours, all with their complex appearances underpinned by so-named holotropic attractor patterns of information. Instead of a great object, our universe is being revealed as a great informational and finite thought in the infinite and eternal mind of the cosmos. We don't have mind and consciousness. We and the whole world are mind and consciousness. While we are each unique, we are inseparable from each other, our planetary home, and our entire universe. And we are each microcosmic co-creators of its magnificence and evolutionary impulse. We are family members of its vast communities of life. This is who we really are. Our unified, conscious, and essentially living universe not only meaningfully exists, but purposefully evolves. Its emergence not random, but continually and informationally guided. By around 5.5 billion years ago, interstellar clouds of molecular hydrogen, stardust, and ice had evolved to provide all the complex combinations of elements to birth planetary systems and enable biological life to emerge. The shockwaves from the explosion of a nearby star then cause such a cloud to gravitationally collapse, not in chaos, but into a protoplanetary disk, whose harmonically resonant orbits of its emerging planets surrounding a central protostar would further evolve to form our Sun and solar system. Vitally for us, Gaia's place in our planetary family is perfect. In the habitable zone, not too hot and not too cold, but just right. And as a water planet, to become a home for the evolution of biological organisms. Gaia's sentience is, however, embodied not only in her biological organisms, but also throughout her planetary rocks and minerals, waters and atmosphere that form an interdependent Gaiosphere that has nurtured the continuing emergence of complexity for over 4 billion years. From the very beginning, unchanged ever since, and the same throughout all Gaia's biosphere, the DNA and RNA genetic code has informationally enabled their intricate evolution from the simplest cells to the most complex ecosystems. Crucially, informational DNA is not passive, but responsive to signals, and so able to communicate and express its genes in different ways, with biological evolution driven not by random mutations, but by proactive and beneficial responses and adaptations. Meaningful informational processes guide emergence, and with collaborative relationships of organisms, ecosystems, and the entire Gaiosphere, enabling not only gradual change, but sometimes radical and rapid transformation. Yet we've forgotten that we're inseparable from each other, Gaia, and our whole universe. As a result, we've come to a tipping point as a species and as a planet. To evolve to greater complexity, organisms throughout Gaia's long story have learned to cooperate. To survive and thrive, we can't go on behaving as we have been. We can learn to come together to be a planetary species and stewards of our planetary home as Gaians. This is our moment of choice. Based on the evidence we now have, to remember that we're inseparable, and realise too that our own conscious evolution can play a vital role in Gaia's own evolutionary progress and purpose.
This is who we can remember we really are. This is who we can evolve to become.
I hope everyone enjoyed that, and just to let everyone know that it is free to watch, to share, and I'll come back to that right at the end of our session today. But one of the things I wanted to go on to now was the sense of the evolutionary impulse of our universe, because we are here now at a pivotal moment in that evolutionary story. And the way that our universe works in this holographic manifestation is that as space expands and as time flows, more and more meaningful information can be expressed within it. The information content of our entire universe is always increasing as part of its evolutionary progress. And by doing so, this evolutionary impulse from simplicity to ever greater complexity has enabled individuated self-awareness. It's come to a point where through our entire story and our story of our planetary home Gaia, that we're here and now together. And we, human beings, are the youngest of Gaia's organic children. We embody her legacy and that of our entire universe and its evolutionary arc. And we literally today, here, now, stand with them at the bow wave of the ongoing and emergent possibility. And we're the last of our kind. The journey of homonyms began millions of years ago. We have many cousins and ancestors. We're the last of our kind. And yet we're not alone. Because as the film shows, as all the evidence is pointed to, as universal wisdom teachings have always stated, we are part of the web of life and beyond. We and her entire family are all Gaians. And I feel it's important for us to realise that our planetary home, Gaia's own continuing emergence, has been embodied in collaborative and co-evolutionary partnerships, as the film said, for over 4 billion years. So our conscious evolution is essentially integral to Gaia's own evolutionary potential and progress and purpose. And setting this in the context that we in our entire universe are innately relational. Whether we're aware of it or not, we meaningfully inform and are informed by the unitive cosmic thought that is our universe. In every moment, we are literally inseparable. And yet we're unique expressions of that sentience and evolutionary flow. And again, as mentioned in the film, and I mentioned earlier, it's vital for us to appreciate that mind and consciousness, and I'm talking about universal mind and consciousness, of which human consciousness is a wondrous, self-aware, individuated microcosm. But mind and consciousness aren't something we have. They're literally what we and the whole world are. And as a result, we and our entire universe embodies existential meaning and evolutionary purpose. And this has been the journey of universal and the teachings of universal wisdom that has guided our path for this existential meaning. The way of the sage, of understanding, of mind, the way of the shaman, the experiencing of the heart, and the way of the seer, the mystic, embodying purpose. These have been with us as part of our human journey and experience for thousands of years. And now science is coming to join, to converge with them, and indigenous traditions to reveal the wholeness of the nature of reality. And we have such amazing examples of the sage, and Theosophical society is such a key part of that tradition, a part of this tradition, showing us, giving us guidance, underpinning and framing our experience as human beings. And now the science that Madame Blavatsky intuited and understood at a very profound level. We have more than a century of continued investigation and discoveries that now overthrow that materialistic paradigm that, we base our societies on. This is a time for revolution. This is a time for transformation. And we can't just do that with the understanding of our minds. It seems to me that we need to have the experiential perception of our hearts. Our hearts know that we're part of this wholeness. And this has been the shamanic path for hundreds, perhaps probably 40, 50,000, maybe as long as it's meant to be human. The shamanic path has been the way that we've experienced ourselves as innately inseparable. And finally, we've had mystics, revelatory seers throughout the ages that have given us deeper insights that again have helped us along our path to now. All of these universal wisdom teachings have sought meaning and purpose for our human existence. They all have recognized a non-physical, spiritual dimension or dimensions of reality. In general, they've emphasized the me and the we. And now we can also say and the all of the entire cosmos. And most have aspired to integrate inner and outer experiences, but none were informed by the discoveries of the latest 100 or more years of science. Firstly, quantum and relativity sciences that showed that, we aren't separate. How could we be separate? 21st century information holographic science. These are key. We couldn't be having this unitive understanding now without these breakthroughs, which are literally 21st century and some are only in the last few years. And also the evolutionary biology, which when itself is set within this context that the film summarizes really and introduces the informational and holographic nature of reality, then we can understand the role, the key fundamental role of evolution throughout the whole of our universe's story, and then on a planetary basis in biology. So integrating the three paths of sage, shaman, and seer, which I would say now also includes these insights of leading edge science, brings us to a cosmology of an essentially living and benevolent, loving universe that meaningfully exists and purposefully evolves. And through the complementary interweaving, the paths that are complementary of mind and heart and purpose, does invite us to embrace and embody that our innate wholeness and awaken the heart of the universal soul within our hearts and in the divine unity of which we're a part. And part of this, and I just want to presence it today briefly, but it's so fundamental, that to understand that the universal principles and complementarities, which of course the TSA knows very well, but I just want to bring that in because it's so key to how we can evolve our consciousness, in my view, is the complementarities of polarity-based relationships, and enables us to more deeply appreciate the yin feminine and the yang masculine qualities and bring them into everything that we are and do, because this, for me, is vital to the way we move forward. Because in doing so, by integrating their attributes, facilitators the birth and embodiment of the compassionate wonder at this story of our universe, which is our story as unitively conscious, microcosmic co-creators of our universe's innate meaning, existential meaning, and evolutionary purpose. By embracing this understanding with our minds and hearts and purpose, it seems to me that we can truly change the world. So I guess the question that each of us asks, and I ask very often, what can I do? And first of all, I would say when people say, I'm just me, there is no just you or just I. There's you and there is I. And when we understand who we really are, each of us is incredibly powerful. So I would suggest to remember we are inseparable, and we do belong. Unity and diversity is a wonderful expression of the wholeness of our universe, expressed through radical diversity. But, I'd go beyond that. Unity in inclusion, yes, to unity in belonging. We belong. We belong with each other, Gaia, and the whole world. and to embody the golden rule of treating others, and I would say Gaia and all her children, as we would wish to be treated in thoughts, words, and actions. And sometimes it's it's hard to embrace the extraordinary in the ordinary, but I would invite us to do that, to perceive the way a plant grows, how when we place a seed in a garden, it grows into a beautiful plant, to appreciate the wonder of the sun rising each morning, the miracle of a newborn baby, and the ordinary in the extraordinary. So let's live and let's love as we truly are, microcosmic co-creators of the universe soul, as divine beings, multidimensionally conscious, and naturally embodying supernormal attributes, because in a unitive universe, our intuition is our superpower, and supernormal phenomena such as telepathy and others are our natural heritage. And if we can open ourselves up to this understanding, we can open ourselves up to those attributes which are naturally ours. So what I want to go on to briefly now is the transformation, because often we talk about our current existential threats as a metacrisis. I would urge us to reframe these times of turbulence and in between, as birthing, a birthing canal of a metamorphosis. And so for me, and for what I've been sharing today and what the film shares, is that far more than a scientific revolution, this unitive underpinning and framing is a societal and cultural opportunity to consciously usher in our next evolutionary steps as a species. Because first of all, I would suggest it can inspire and empower us to remember who we really are and who we can evolve to become. The last words of the film are its intention of this message. To reframe our metamorphosis as a metamorphosis, offering us authentic positivity, empowering us, giving us hope to come together as the imaginal cells of a butterfly does to create its wonder. And for our species to transform from the inside out. A butterfly sees the world through completely, literally, completely different eyes than that of a caterpillar. And when we transform our worldview into one of unity, in belonging, and we have the evidence, we have the universal wisdom teachings and indigenous traditions, and now we have the scientific evidence at all scales of existence and across all fields of research, we can see ourselves and the whole world with new eyes. And finally, perhaps specifically, to consider and take away and mull over and come together and ask questions about and continue to explore, that perhaps this can help us heal the traumas of our collective dis-ease of separation and apply these to reconciliation and peace building. Conflicts are a natural outcome of a worldview of separation. Peace is a natural outcome, and health and whole being are natural outcomes of a worldview, a unitive worldview, and a unitive narrative of wholeness. We can transform our education by rote that comes out of that 19th century mechanistic paradigm into learning ecosystems where teachers and students learn together, including in terms of planetary regeneration. We can apply these principles, these ethics that come from a unitive perspective to multilateral governance and how to be a good ancestor for future generations in these in-between times of metamorphosis. To bring a unitive science, and there's vast amounts of research and evidence and references that underpin what I'm sharing today and underpin the film, but bring a unitive science approach to AI and technology innovation, and to bring the science of unitive love, soul, to how we are with each other. Transform economics from an evolutionary to, I say from an evolutionary perspective, what I mean on this one is to an evolutionary perspective and potential, not just circular. Our planet doesn't just go in circles, it goes in spirals through time of its not only existential, but evolutionary purpose and flow, and come to realize ourselves as Gaians and as regenerative stewards and co-evolutionary planetary partners. Again, and finally, to realize that as microcosmic co-creators of a unitive and universal sentience, we naturally embody non-local awareness and attributes. This is our heritage. This is who we really are, as wisdom teachings have always told us, and now science attests to, and much more. And to paraphrase the great philosopher Pierre de Chardin, who wrote this more than 100 years ago, someday we shall harness the energies of love. Someday we shall harness the energies of love. And then, for a second time in the history of the world, humanity will have discovered fire. That someday, I would suggest, is here and now, as a species and for the first time, that we can do so to remember who we really are and who we can consciously evolve to become. This is the discovery of love. So I'm sharing today much of the work that we do at Whole Worldview, and to let you know again that A Radical Guide to Reality film is embodied in the website and on YouTube. It's free to watch, free to share, free to use in whatever way people want. It's in 19 subtitled languages, from Arabic to Ukrainian. And we include on the website a glossary of terms, some suggested questions to invite exploration, and some invited experiences with audios to really share how it feels to know this relationship of us and the vastness of the universe, whose big breath breathes through our little breaths in every moment. And also now an educational blog, so that people can share and explore and participate. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share the message of A Radical Guide to Reality, but more than that, to invite each and every one of you to appreciate how important you are, how significant you are, and to invite you to whatever you feel is yours to do, whatever makes your heart sing, to step forward into your heritage, into the future of your cosmic destiny and our cosmic destiny. So thank you all very, very much.